Welcome to Audiobook Brief. In today's video, we're exploring Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown, a powerful journey into the quest for true belonging and the courage to stand alone. This book challenges us to embrace our authentic selves, even in the face of societal pressures to fit in. Get ready to learn how vulnerability, empathy, and understanding can lead to deeper connections and a more fulfilling life. Stick around for insights on navigating challenging times with strength, compassion, and an open heart. Let's dive into the wilderness and discover the beauty of belonging. Fear grips the author as they reflect on their journey to challenge popular ideas, feeling uncertain and worried about disappointing others. They recount experiences from their childhood and their longing for true belonging over mere fitting in. The chapter reveals moments of exclusion, from not making a drill team to the struggles within their family, highlighting a painful search for acceptance. The author contemplates the significance of belonging and the transformative power it holds, expressing a deep desire to connect authentically with others without losing themselves along the way. This chapter dives into the powerful theme of belonging versus fitting in, a notion many can relate to. The author's reflections remind us that true belonging doesn't mean altering who we are to gain acceptance. It's about owning our identity and being secure in ourselves. By sharing personal stories about childhood experiences and family dynamics, the author illustrates the emotional scars that emerge when we feel out of place. It's like trying to catch a train that never comes. You're there, but it feels like you don't quite fit into the station. Moreover, the mention of iconic figures like Maya Angelou and J.K. Rowling accentuates the notion that even the most celebrated individuals grapple with these feelings of alienation. The author's realization about belonging underscores a universal truth. Finding a tribe is essential, but not at the cost of our authentic selves. This emphasizes the importance of vulnerability and courage in forging genuine connections with others. The lessons learned evoke empathy and help us ponder our own experiences with belonging, pushing us to consider how we can build our communities while remaining true to ourselves. True belonging is something we all crave. It's not just about fitting in or getting approval. Instead, it comes from being our authentic selves. The chapter explains that real belonging has to start from within, being okay with who we are, even if it means standing alone. This exploration into true belonging shows how the world often pushes us to hide our true selves to fit in, leading to feelings of disconnection. It emphasizes that this disconnect stems from our society's focus on division rather than love and common humanity. As we search for belonging, we need to brave the wilderness of vulnerability and criticism, realizing that true connection is deeply rooted in spirituality and humanity's shared experience. True belonging becomes a brave act of standing in our truth, even if it feels scary, allowing us to navigate our differences and find deeper connections with ourselves and others. This chapter is a powerful dive into the essence of belonging. It frames belonging as a fundamental human need, but goes further to show that it doesn't just come from being part of a group. Instead, true belonging emerges from self-acceptance and the bravery to stand alone when necessary. Think about it this way. It's like having the freedom to be your weird self without worrying about what others think. Like wearing that goofy hat you love, even if your friends tease you about it. The discussion about the US versus them mentality resonates strongly today when everyone seems to be at odds. It prompts us to think about how the fear of being different can stifle our authenticity. It also highlights the need for civil discourse and kindness. That's the real challenge. Just imagine trying to have a deep conversation with someone who has a totally different viewpoint. It's tough but essential for true belonging. The 4 elements of true belonging outlined at the end are like survival tips for navigating this wild terrain of life and relationships. They remind us that while we face challenges, there is beauty in our differences. Braving the wilderness is a vivid metaphor that captures the struggle and discomfort of being true to ourselves. The wilderness here represents the unknown and the difficult journey towards authenticity and connection. It's not about simply aligning with others, but about engaging deeply with ourselves and being courageous enough to embrace both solitude and community. True belonging is a journey that pushes against the norms we often accept, forcing us to confront our fears and biases. The paradox outlined helps us understand that it's okay to simultaneously feel the need to belong and the need for solitude. Being part of something bigger doesn't require us to change who we are, but rather to amplify our true selves in a world that often demands conformity. That's an empowering message. The whole idea that being authentically you is what truly connects you to other people. The chapter begins with the tale of Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass music, who as a child experienced the pain and freedom in the hollers of returning World War I veterans. This high lonesome sound captures deep emotions and shows how art can transform sorrow into shared experiences. Today, however, people are increasingly isolated and divided, leading to a collective spiritual crisis. The text explores how individuals gravitate towards like-minded groups, creating factions and exacerbating loneliness. It highlights that, while we might feel closer to those who share our beliefs, this sorting leads to disconnection and deeper feelings of loneliness. Noting that loneliness acts as a crucial warning sign similar to hunger, the chapter stresses the importance of connection to combat these feelings. Fear plays a significant role in driving people to isolate and sort themselves into groups, making it difficult to connect with others. To truly belong, we must be willing to confront our fears and step out of our comfort zones, demonstrating authenticity in our relationships and communities. This chapter hits hard on the notion of modern loneliness and the irony behind it. While society has the tools to connect more than ever before, think social media, texting, video calls, many are feeling lonelier. It's like being in a crowded room, yet feeling utterly invisible. The idea of high lonesome is profound. It suggests that even our deepest pains can unite us when shared through art. Imagine attending a concert where everyone sings the same heartfelt lyrics, and in that moment, you feel like part of something bigger. The chapter also sheds light on a critical truth. The sorting people do into homogeneous groups creates barriers that obstruct genuine connection. Instead of fostering understanding, we build echo chambers that amplify our fears and biases. When fear takes over, a fear of vulnerability or opposing views, we start shielding ourselves, leading to more profound isolation and misunderstanding. The author's message here is clearly that overcoming these challenges requires courage. Taking that first step, like diving into unknown waters, is daunting, but necessary. It challenges us to loosen our grip on comfort and embrace the wilderness of honest conversations and relationships. Only then can we find true belonging and transform the high lonesome into a rich tapestry of collective experiences, reminiscent of that powerful music that resonates deeply with anyone who listens. Let's look at the big picture we see today. It's filled with hate, politics, and division. Yet, when we zoom in on our own lives, we find love, hope, and struggles, which connect us deeply. The strongest sense of belonging comes from assessing people through our personal experiences instead of generic group stereotypes. For instance, just because we might say Democrats or Republicans are awful, it doesn't mean that someone we love in that group fits the stereotype. It's about understanding the real people behind those labels. Pain can lead to anger, but holding on to hate drains us. Instead of screaming into the void, we need to confront our pain and be honest about what we feel. It's easy to walk away rather than face discomfort, but true bravery lies in embracing vulnerability. Setting boundaries is crucial. There's a line between healthy debate and hateful rhetoric. Dehumanization starts with language and transforms conflict into something more palatable. Real connection requires commitment to understanding others, even when it's tough. Lastly, embracing our human stories can bring the healing needed for true belonging. The chapter digs into the heart of what it means to truly belong in a landscape riddled with hate. It's a call to action, reminding us to step outside our comfort zones and face real people rather than maintaining a safe distance behind screens or broad labels. Think about it. When you're caught in an argument or disagreement, it's often easier to categorize the other person as simply the enemy than see the complex individual they are. But that distance is harmful. People can be frustrating and hard to love. But when we choose to lean in and understand their stories, we create bonds that are far more powerful than the hate that separates us. Brown highlights how pent-up anger can signify deeper emotions like grief or fear. It is like a pressure cooker. We need to release that steam instead of letting it explode at the wrong person. This acknowledgement of pain can often serve as the first step towards compassion and understanding, which are essential for navigating conflicts. Plus, the chat about boundaries emphasizes that while we seek connection, we also need to protect our own well-being. Setting those boundaries can help foster healthier, more open discussions. It shows that even disagreements can lead to mutual respect and understanding if we approach them with an open heart. This conversation about conflict transformation is also pivotal. Staying engaged instead of retreating is critical. So, the real challenge becomes how to confront disagreements without losing sight of our shared humanity. And that is where the true strength of belonging lies. In this chapter, the focus shifts to what it means to confront bullshit while maintaining civility. Using insights from Harry Frankfurt, the text distinguishes between lying and bullshitting, highlighting how the latter often arises from our fear of uncertainty and our need to have opinions on everything. The idea of "you're either with us or against us" is explored, illuminating its emotional and divisive power in debates. The narrative emphasizes the importance of civility, disagreeing respectfully, and engaging with kindness, especially when faced with emotionally charged topics. Personal stories illustrate the challenge of remaining civil when the stakes are high, ultimately affirming that true belonging requires us to navigate these complexities with integrity and understanding. This chapter digs into the messy waters of modern communication, revealing how our emotional reactions often lead us into the trap of bullshitting. The comparison of lies and bullshit is super important. Think of it this way: lying is like having a clear opponent in a game, while bullshitting is like entirely missing the point of playing. The author reminds us that while it's tempting to jump into debates with shallow opinions, showing curiosity and being willing to admit ignorance can lead to richer discussions. When the narrative critiques the oversimplified "you're either with us or against us" mentality, it makes you think about where you stand on issues. Have you ever felt pressured to take a side in a heated argument? That emotional pull can often drown out logic and truth. By questioning this mentality and refusing to be boxed in by false choices, we protect both our integrity and the chance for honest dialogue. The narrative then highlights civility as an art that few seem to master, especially today. It's fascinating how a conversation can escalate simply because neither side is willing to listen or understand. What a waste! The call for generous assumptions and thoughtful inquiry is a guide for having these tough conversations. Instead of firing back defensively, we could choose to seek common ground, which is pretty much where real progress lies. The personal stories shared in the chapter really drive home the theme. Being vulnerable in uncomfortable conversations might feel risky, but it also opens avenues for true connection. Even when faced with hostility or misunderstanding, like standing firm instead of crumbling under societal pressure, is where real resilience and belonging shine through. Overall, this mix of lighthearted stories and serious reflections raises critical questions for readers. How can we resist the urge to fall into the trap of quick emotional judgment? Can civility be maintained in our fervent beliefs and discussions? These are the very challenges of our time. In this chapter, the importance of recognizing our deep human connections is highlighted, especially in challenging times. Despite our differences, engaging in shared moments of joy and pain with others, like singing at a concert or supporting each other during hardships, cultivates a sense of belonging. The author illustrates that instead of retreating into isolation or negativity, we should strive to connect through shared experiences. This chapter invokes powerful collective moments, showcasing how they help people feel more alive, grounded, and united, helping us affirm our interconnectedness. The key message here revolves around the idea that true belonging and connection come from engaging with others, especially those who are different from us. We often seek comfort in echo chambers where we only validate our own beliefs, but this isolation weakens our sense of community. Moments of collective joy, like cheering at sports events or sharing in community grief, remind us of our shared humanity. They create a sense of sacredness that taps into something more profound than mere social interaction. It's about participating in life together. For instance, the intense emotional experience of fans singing an anthem together transcends rivalries, bringing people together in celebration. Similarly, showing up for one another in moments of pain, such as attending a funeral or gatherings post-tragedy, solidifies our connection and reminds us we're not alone in our struggles. Just like how turning to friends in sorrow helps ease the load, this chapter encourages us to step out of our comfort zones and experience life with others, no matter how daunting it may seem. It's a heartfelt call to embrace vulnerability, knowing that it leads to deeper connections and understanding. By closing off and choosing isolation, we miss out on the richness of shared experiences that can elevate our lives and transform perceptions. In this chapter, the concept of balancing a strong back and soft front to navigate life's challenges is explored. Instead of hiding behind defenses born from fear, it's about finding strength through vulnerability and self-acceptance. The author shares her first encounter with the phrase from Joan Halifax, illustrating how we can embrace courage while remaining open-hearted. She emphasizes the journey of self-discovery, where true belonging means standing alone in a solitary wilderness of our own beliefs and truths, while maintaining resilience against societal pressures. The chapter wraps up by encouraging the importance of self-love, connection, and finding joy amid struggle, ultimately celebrating the beauty of a wild heart. This part of the book delves deep into the emotional complexities of belonging and personal strength. The idea of having a strong back represents the inner confidence needed to uphold our values, while a soft front symbolizes our capacity for empathy and tenderness. It's like having a well-built armor that allows you to be protective but not impenetrable, opening up space for genuine connections. The author highlights that many struggle with these elements, often letting fear dictate their actions instead of love. The story of Jen Hatmaker demonstrates how advocating for one's beliefs, despite community backlash, can be both a daunting and rewarding journey. It's a rallying cry for anyone who feels the pressure to conform. Stepping into the wild might cost you some comfort, but it leads to a richer, more authentic life. Lessons of vulnerability and authenticity are crucial here, reminding us that true belonging does not mean changing ourselves to fit in, but rather embracing our true selves with confidence. This chapter speaks to the timeless truth that while the wilderness is often lonely, it's also a place where true connection and creativity flourish. Having a wild heart means engaging in the messy realities of life without losing our sense of joy or solidarity with others. And that balance is something we all need to strive for. By celebrating our uniqueness, we open the door not only for ourselves, but for others around us to do the same. Thank you for tuning in to our summary of Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown. We hope this journey into the courage of standing alone while forging genuine connections resonated with you on a personal level. If you found this summary enriching, make sure to subscribe for more engaging content and stay updated on our latest insights. Keep exploring the depths of meaningful audiobooks with us, and remember, the path to true belonging begins with embracing your true self. See you soon.